Most of the atheists, they think that science is ultimate. Nowadays, this is the age of science and technology, and they feel that science is ultimate. And if you ask any atheist, that suppose there is an equipment, there is a gadget, which no one in the world has ever seen, no one has heard of. And if that gadget is brought in front of this atheist, and the question is asked that who will be the first person who will be able to tell you the mechanism of this gadget, the mechanism of this equipment? The atheist will reply that it will be the creator. Some may say the manufacturer, some may say the maker, some may say the inventor, some may say the producer. Whatever they say, it will be somewhat similar. Either it will be the creator, the manufacturer, the maker, it will be the inventor, it will be somewhat similar. Don't grapple with the words, just keep that answer at the back of your mind. Ask him the question that how did our universe come into existence? He will tell you that initially there was a primary nebula. Later on, there was a secondary separation. There was a Big Bang, which gave rise to galaxies, the stars, the sun, the planets, and the earth on which we live. This, they call it as the Big Bang. When we ask the atheist that when did you come to know about this creation of the universe, the Big Bang? So he will tell you, we came to know recently, 30 years back, 40 years back. I tell him that this information about the creation of the universe is mentioned in this book, the glorious Quran, 1400 years ago in a nutshell. It's mentioned in Surah Anbiya, chapter number 21, verse number 30. Avalam yaral lazina kafaru. Do not the unbelievers see? Anna samawati wal arda. Kan tarat kan ftaknahuma. That the heaven and the earth, they were joined together and we clove them asunder. This Big Bang, what you're talking about, is already mentioned in the Quran 1400 years ago. Who could have mentioned this in the Quran? They will tell you, maybe it's a flock. Don't argue with him. Continue. What is the shape of this earth? So he will tell you that previously the human beings thought that the earth on which we live is flat. It was in 1579 when Sir Francis Drake, he sailed around the earth, that he proved that the earth was spherical. What you came to know in 1579 is already mentioned in the Quran 1400 years ago in Surah Naziyat, chapter number 79, verse number 30, where it's mentioned, وَالْأَرْضَ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ دَحَاهَا. And thereafter, we have made the earth egg-shaped. The Arabic word dahaha, one of its meaning is an expanse, and the earth is an expanse. The other meaning is derived from the Arabic word duya, which means an egg. And we know that the earth on which we live is not completely round like a ball. It is flattened from the pole and bulging from the center. It is geospherical in shape. And the Arabic word dahaha does not refer to a normal egg. It specifically refers to the egg of an ostrich. And if we analyze the shape of the egg of an ostrich, it too is geospherical in shape. Who could have mentioned 1400 years ago that the shape of the earth is geospherical? The atheist may say, maybe your Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he was an intelligent person. Don't argue. Continue. The light of the moon, is it its own light or is it a reflected light? So the atheist will tell you, previously we thought that the light of the moon was its own light. Recently in science, 100 years back, 200 years back, 300 years back, we came to know that the light of the moon is not its own light, but it is the reflected light. Quran mentioned in Surah Furqan, chapter number 25, verse number 61. Blessed is he who has made the constellation in the sky and placed therein sun having its own light and moon having a reflection of light, having borrowed light. The Arabic word used for sun is shams, it's always described as siraj or wahaj, meaning a torch or a blazing lamp. The Arabic word used in the Quran for moon is qamar. Its light is always described as munir or nur, meaning borrowed light or a reflection of light. Nowhere does the Quran refer to the moonlight as its own light. Who could have mentioned this in the Quran 1400 years ago? The atheist. Maybe after a long pause he will say, maybe your prophet, he was extra intelligent. Don't argue, continue. When I was in school, I passed my school in 1982. I had learned in the subject of science and geography that the sun, though it revolved, it did not rotate about its own axis. The atheist will ask, is this mentioned in the Quran? I will tell him, no, this is what I learned in school. More than 25 years back, this is what I learned in school. But when I read the verse of the Quran in Surah Anbiya, chapter number 21, verse number 33, it says, Huwa allazi khalaqa al-layla wan-nahara. It's Allah who has created the night and the day. Wash-shamsa wal-qamar, the sun and the moon. Kullun fi falaki yasbahun, each one traveling in orbit with its own motion. The Arabic word yasbahun describes the motion of a moving body, indicating that the sun, besides revolving, it is also rotating about its own axis. And today science tells us that the sun takes approximately 25 days to complete one rotation. Who could have mentioned this in the Quran 1400 years ago, which science has discovered recently, just a couple of decades earlier? When I was in school, I didn't know about this. Now, all the textbooks, they say very clearly that the sun, besides revolving, even rotates about its own axis. Who could have mentioned this in the Quran? And most probably, the atheist, he'll be silent. Don't wait for the reply, continue. Today science tells us that our universe is expanding, which we discovered recently, a couple of hundred years back. Quran mentions in Surah Dariyat, chapter number 51, verse number 47, that we have created the expanding universe, the vastness of space. The Arabic musiona, the Arabic word musiona, it means the expanding universe, the vastness of space. There may be many critics of Islam who will say it is nothing great that the Quran speaks about astronomy, since the Arabs were advanced in the field of astronomy. And I do agree with them that the Arabs were advanced in the field of astronomy. But I'd like to remind them, it was centuries after the Quran was revealed that the Arabs became advanced in the field of astronomy. So it's from the Quran that the Arabs learned about astronomy and not the vice versa. In the field of hydrology, when we asked the atheist that when did we come to know about the water cycle? So he will tell you that Sir Bernard Palissy in 1580 was the first person who described the present water cycle. How does the water evaporate from the ocean? It forms into clouds, moves into the interior, it falls on as rain, and the water cycle is replenished. This water cycle is mentioned in the Quran in great detail 1400 years ago. The Quran mentions too that the water evaporates from the ocean, forms into clouds, the clouds join, then move into the interior, then the water falls down, and the water table is replenished. The Quran speaks about hydrology and the water cycle in great detail in several verses. In Surah Az-Zumar, chapter 39, verse number 21. In Surah Rum, chapter number 30, verse number 24. In Surah Mu'minun, chapter number 23, verse number 18. In Surah Hijr, chapter number 15, verse number 22. In Surah Nur, chapter number 24, verse number 43. In Surah Rum, chapter number 30, verse number 48. In Surah Araf, chapter number 7, verse 57. In Surah Rad, chapter number 13, verse number 17. In Surah Furqan, chapter number 25, verse number 40 and 49. In Surah Fatir, chapter number 35, verse number 9. In Surah Yasin, chapter number 36, verse number 34. In Surah Ghafir, chapter number 40. As well as Surah Jashia, chapter number 45, verse number 5. In Surah Qaf, chapter number 50, verse number 9 and 10.